A Light in the Darkness Chapter 46, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Terrible screeching filled the air. Cataclysmic beatings of eldritch insectile wings in the uncountable trillions pushed over chaos-corrupted trees with the wind they displaced. The planet was a hellscape of seemingly infinite Tyranids supping upon the flesh of the few mortal lives upon the planet, while chaos demons, emboldened by the terror filling the world, spawned in the millions as their monstrous forms did battle with the countless Tyranids. It was not demons of Nurgle, Sench, or any of the other four chaos gods. No, the demons here on this planet were black demons of chaos undivided, and they sundered the invading Tyranids with both eldritch magic that tore space and time, but far more commonly with weapons both devastating and cruel. Patriarch, we have learned the hymns on the steel except for Arya, our Wraith Knight pilot, who requests that you teach her twin sister, who is entombed within the Wraith Knight, the hymns as her loose soul is incapable of interacting with the steel as we have. Kalnador, the leader of the Iandon scout group, spoke as I stared out at the devastation from the safe peak of our mountain. The Stells do not respond to ghosts and spirits. Keeps people who are possessed by demons from learning our secrets, you understand. I said with a frown before shrugging. Very well, I will take Arya and her sister, you said. At his nod, I bit my lip as my mind raced at the knowledge that they were twins able to use a Wraith Knight together. Such a potent soul combination that fit together so seamlessly opened the doors to certain martial arts techniques and spells that even I could never accomplish due to myself refusing to combine my soul with another and to act as one. I will speak with Arya and her sister in time. Leave me to watch the perimeter and get back in the sect building so the Tyranids cannot sense your psychic signature, I ordered, and after a moment, the Eldar Guardian bowed his head stiffly as he quickly made his way back towards the more heavily shielded sect buildings. Granted, I hadn't spent a long time making a huge illusion spell over the sect, which I probably should have. But I did take the precautions to put a simple veil that would weaken the lure of the souls within the sect from the demons on the world and within the very warp. So, the Tyranids didn't focus on the sect that they couldn't push into due to the barrier, and instead focused on fighting the demons, corrupted wildlife, and the scant humans living on the planet. But with at minimum trillions of Tyranid lifeforms filling the planet in uncountable maddening shapes and sizes, there were tens of thousands that attempted to brute force their way into the sect only to have the guiding psychic might of the hive ships and their controllers ripped from their forms as the sect's sun absorbed and burnt away the spiritual energy, leaving them only insects that would fly and be pulled into the sun. So, the sect was mostly safe except for some outliers. Here you are. Do you plan to hide in your hole and avoid the fighting? A demon that grew out of a shadow in front of the ward hissed at me, and I knew it was a powerful one as it was managing to avoid being pulled into the sect's security measures. And judging from it being a massive bipedal goat demon with red-tinged skin, it was obviously attached to Khorne, though why it didn't come swinging at me was confusing. I paid the demon no more than a glance as I stared out at the Tyranids harvesting the world of all its biomass before I eventually spoke as the demon shifted in anticipation. What good will going out there do? Save human lives. I already have plenty within my sect. To fight beside demons, I have pride and won't fight besides my food. I closed my eyes as the demon of Khorne snorted with flames coming out of its nose, before I opened my eyes as my sword screeched as it came alive, while my Kasaya beads slithered off my arms and went past the ward lines, making the demon back off fearfully as my anathema nature screamed in his senses. But I just recruited a couple of disciples, and I could give them a lesson on what they may amount to. Now, flee, little worm, I want you to give your master an accounting what a pure human can do. I said as pure young fire shrouded my form as I walked out of the sect's boundaries, and as the demon roared in delight at me joining the fight, I silenced it with a lazy slash of my sword that decapitated it, sending its essence to reform in chaos. My thrumming energy now escaping the previous veil over the sect gathered the Tyranids' attention with dozens of gargoyles flying over to tear me apart. Filthy beasts. I snarled as I sent a slash of my saber in their direction, which sent 100-meter-wide silver arc of sword intent through the air that split apart the multi-winged Tyranids like they weren't even there. Each such slash I made sent arcs of sword intent flying through the air, and as I walked down the mountain using the sect's gravity stair, I upped the gravity for all that entered its radius to be more than 100 times the normal gravity. So, all flying creatures instantly fell to the ground after entering the airspace of the gravity staircase. And such a drop was deadly, as disregarding the impact on the very ground, the ground I had already walked upon was filled with ever-burning young flames that I could remotely refuel myself internally via the sex-guarding sun that hovered over it and was acting as the universe's best bug zapper. I have no plans to give up this damned planet. So, you can all fuck off. I yelled as I drained power from the sun to send a massive fireball at a trio of carnifexes that burned through the thick carapace of the monsters like it was nothing. But burning through a carnifex and instantly killing it was beyond my power normally, and it was only through stealing the power of my sex sun that I could do that. I realized as I danced between Tyranid warriors and gaunts that this wasn't working. For all that I could slay a dozen with a single sword swing, there were untold thousands of beasts crowding around me, though the vast majority were just trash Tyranid warriors I could kill with a slap of my hand, let alone needing me to actually slash at them with my sword. No, it was the carnifexes and other large life-form breeds that were trouble. Their bioplasma cooked within themselves was corrosive enough to burn my flesh, and they each three slashed off my swords from a distance to break through their thick carapaces that could turn aside lower-grade munitions like they were nothing. After another 10 minutes of constant non-stop slaughter as I cut, smashed, or burned away all that stood in my way, I looked up and saw something that killed my arrogance. I was too arrogant. For all my power, I am still just one damned man in a galaxy of suffering. I cursed, smiling as I finally just gave up worrying about the planet. From the very atmosphere came massive tendrils made out of flesh that were dozens of times thicker than the Empire State Building that reached the massive Hive fleet ships hanging above the planet in the atmosphere that were already seemingly draining the chaotic world sea that was in the distance from the mountain range my sect was built upon. With the planet only being a chaos-touched world with no infrastructure by any Chaos Space Marines or any other force at all. Its defenders were just demons seemingly popping to have fun before all smothering weight of the Tyranid's shadow in the warp fell upon the planet and cut off their access. But before I could fall back to the sect and prepare to flee the world for my very life, I felt the earth beneath me shudder as howling black winds filled my view and maddening whispers carried itself upon the winds that began buffeting the massive fleshy tendrils that sought to drain the world of all its biomass and life. My bewilderment of what the hell was happening was answered as the very crust of the planet seemingly shattered across the mountain range and beyond, as massive ravines opened up with eye-piercing purple and black light streaming from the ravines, and what came out from the ravines was only insanity. I was fully reminded that although Tyranids had the all-smothering shadow in the warp that would cut off warp travel and such. But this was a planet within the fucking maelstrom, one of the most powerful permanent warp storms in the galaxy other than the Eye of Terror. The demons within the warp weren't going to take having the door to real space slammed into their face with a smile. From one ravine poured out an endless wave of red flesh as the hordes of Khorne roared for battle as a massive bloodthirster bull-faced demon with large horns and clad in bronze armor with its massive size being even larger than even a bio-titan I could see in the distance armed with an evil axe flew out on tattered wings screaming his challenge to all as he flew into the atmosphere and with his demonic axe tore apart even hive ships. From another ravine came a time of malformed flesh carrying vile toxins and pox that killed even Tyranid life forms that even breathed in their vicinity, with the leader of this grand army being a massive great unclean one that looked like a diseased single-eyed ogre even taller than the bloodthirster before that lumbered slowly as it avoided crushing the demons beneath its feet as the ones with the grandfather's blessing did have love and care in their hearts. The great unclean one had its stomach torn open with its entrails endlessly dripping its foul remains everywhere, and even a single drop of the corruptive blood that landed upon a carnifex made it melt under the undoubtedly millions, if not billions, of different virulent diseases and pox within the single drop.